Ladies and gentlemen, today we have a very fun video to get into because we're going to make a list of the top 10 JRPGs on the Nintendo Switch. This is one of my favorite categories in gaming, and the Switch is the perfect place to get into JRPGs. So let's just go ahead and get right into this video. I've made like every kind of Switch game list possible, and I've made an RPG one, but I was thinking, whoa. There technically is a difference between, I don't know why I said whoa like it was so groundbreaking. Okay, but there technically is a difference between JRPG and RPGs. So this is a JRPG list. So before we get started, if you could hit a like and subscribe, that would truly mean the world to me. And I'm trying to grow my Twitter because you kind of need Twitter when you're a YouTuber. So follow my Twitter, and when I get 100 followers on Twitter, I'll be doing a giveaway. But now let's just go ahead and get into the video. I mean, whenever you just think of JRPGs, there's one series that immediately comes to mind, and that is the Persona series. For some reason or another, we did not get Persona 5 Royal for quite a long time. I want to say 2022 is when this finally showed up on the Switch, or maybe even 2023. We got Persona 5 Strikers first, which is a fine Persona game, and I think it piggybacks like off this story of Persona 5, so it's all connected, but there's nothing like Persona 3, 4, and 5, and now they are all on the Switch. But if you could only play one, Persona 5 Royal is not only just a great JRPG, it's one of the best RPGs ever created. You could easily put over 100 hours in this game. The soundtrack is incredible, even the menu system is incredible. So if you want to start getting into JRPGs, this is the perfect place to start. A game that I am currently playing is Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. I'm about 25 hours in, and I can tell I'm probably a quarter into the game, if that. It is so difficult, but so rewarding. Shin Megami Tensei 5, I think, came out all the way back in 2021 or 2022, and a lot of people enjoyed it. Vengeance adds a brand new storyline, and just improves a bunch of the gameplay and mechanics, and it's really cool, because in a lot of RPGs or JRPGs, you're battling enemies. In Shin Megami Tensei 5, you can battle those enemies, or you can just straight up have a conversation with them and convince them to come and join you. So that's your party members, right? You'll have a few party members that are just part of the game. I've already met like over 100 demons. And you gotta remember, I'm only a quarter into the game. And every single one of those demons, you can just say, hey, come work for me. And then they'll ask you questions or make you pay them. And then it's kind of like Pokemon in that sense, right? You can just keep adding and changing your demons depending on their strengths and weaknesses. You as a main character can also take their powers. So just imagine like Pikachu being able to use Fire Blast, or Blastoise being able to use Razor Leaf or something like that. You can use any demon's power as your own in this game. So yeah, Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance is a must-play JRPG. Another game that immediately pops in my head, or at least a series that pops in my head when thinking about JRPGs, is Dragon Quest. And Dragon Quest XI's Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition. That's right, that's how you know it's an amazing JRPG, because the title is so damn long. But yeah, Dragon Quest XI, it's incredible. It was actually my very first Dragon Quest game ever, and it immediately made me fall in love with the series. This is just a perfect JRPG. From the gameplay, to the characters, to the story, to the music, to the battling, to everything. Something that I'm actually starting to appreciate more about this game is not only can it be played in 3D, you can play the entire game in like the classic 2D style as well. I don't know why it took so long for that to grow on me, but it's just such an amazing feature. There are so many great Dragon Quest games, there truly are, and there's a good chance you're probably going to enjoy all of them. So while waiting for Dragon Quest 12, why not play Dragon Quest 11? Or like me, why not just play it again? I might do that. So I mean, how could I possibly make this list, or make this video, or even talk about JRPGs without talking about Xenoblade Chronicles? For this video, I'm going to say Xenoblade Chronicles 3, but the first one, the second one, or Xenoblade X Definitive Edition that's coming up, which is technically a remake of a Wii U game, but you cannot go wrong with any of them. But I think Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is just the perfect game. Not only does the world look amazing, and the characters have depth, and the gameplay is very rewarding. It's a little different to get into, but it's very rewarding. But I think where Xenoblade games shine the most is in the story. And unfortunately, a lot of JRPGs or RPGs in general kind of have shallow stories, but Xenoblade games are top tier writing. It's top tier narrative. And then you add that to the gameplay and the world and just this grand adventure. That's an open world game. You got to keep that in mind. And it's so cool because this isn't the oldest series, right? It's a fairly new series, starting back on the Wii, I believe. So we're seeing it kind of be created in front of us. And I cannot imagine how great this series will continue to be and where it will go in the future. Another one of my personal favorites is Star Ocean: The Second Story R. This is an incredible remake. I have a very cool attachment to this game. I actually got this on my birthday at the Nintendo store in New York, so it was this really cool experience for me. And I went in and they had so many games and I'm like, oh my god, what do I get while I'm at the Nintendo store? What do I pick? And it was like this game just popped out at me. I was like, man, I have been looking at that and it does look fun. And I don't know if it's because of that experience, but this is one of the few games in my life where I felt like I was on the adventure with the actual characters. Like the music and the gameplay and the story and the world and the characters and the leveling up system and just everything and the graphics and just so much. There's only been a few times in my entire life where I felt that feeling. That being said, this game is incredibly freaking difficult, man. There was a part where I was stuck for like a whole day, so I lowered it down to easy difficulty just to get past that part, and I was still stuck for another day. But it was so rewarding, and it's just an amazing series, and I hope they remake some more of these games in this style. Another great series we got on the Switch is Live Alive, and this is the remake. If I'm not mistaken, this game only released in Japan on the Super Famicom, so it never got an English translation, it never came over to America, so it's really cool that this finally did come to America. And what's great about this game is it's basically like 7 mini JRPGs in one. I can't remember how many characters, I think there's like 7 or 8, but each character has its own game entirely. So there's this one guy who's like a fighter going through fighting tournaments. There's this Wild West part. There's like this little, I don't even know what you would call it, like a little robot that looks kind of like an egg that's in the future. There's a little character in prehistoric times. There's a ninja. Like each character has its own game, and each game can take around 3 to 6 hours or something like that. So it's just this incredible group of mini games that make up one larger game. This is actually one of my favorite things to ever release on the Nintendo Switch. So another one of my favorite JRPGs ever is Ni no Kuni: Wrath of the White Witch. And yeah, I know this originally released like all the way back on the PS3, I think. I'm not sure if this was like a remastered version or a straight port, but when I played it, it was a quality experience. The Studio Ghibli connection is great, right? The graphics and the little mini cutscenes, it's beautiful, it really is. But I think the story here is just really, really good. It is a little sad at the beginning, but then as you go, you see these characters grow, and this one really does kind of feel like Pokemon to me. I guess like all RPGs or turn-based JRPGs kind of feel like that, but this one really did feel like Pokemon to me for some reason. And yeah, it's like an 80-hour game probably. The second one is also good, and I do think the second one improves like the battling mechanics a little bit, but I still think the first one is the perfect experience. It's a must-play JRPG, and if you're a fan of the genre and you have not played this yet, it's definitely something you should add to your list. Now let's talk about Super Mario RPG, and as weird as it sounds, this is a JRPG technically, right? JRPGs are RPGs developed or published out of Japan. This is one of them. There are other games that you might think should be on this list, but I actually think this is a perfect game. And it's only about 10 hours, right? It's not the longest game, but from start to finish, it is just a treat to play. It's one of those games when you're done, you're like, man, I wish this was another 10 or 15 hours easy. There are times in this game, especially playing on my Switch OLED, where I could see the power of like next generation Nintendo graphics. Some of the cutscenes and some of the battling going on, I was like, oh my god. I think these are some of the best Switch graphics of all time. I never played the original game, I think on Super Nintendo, but a lot of people say that game still holds up too, so if you only have a chance to play it there, that's not a bad way to still play this game. The story is kind of typical Mario, but what's cool is Bowser's actually on your team for once. So it's Mario, Peach, and Bowser all working together with some other really cool characters. And yeah, man, it's just such a fun game. Another game that easily earned a spot on this list is Octopath Traveler 2. Yes, the first one could easily be on this list, and I think some people might prefer that one to this one, right? But Octopath Traveler 2 does everything the first one does, just better in every way. What's cool about this game is there's 7 or 8 different characters, so it's kind of like Live Alive, right? There's all these different characters with different stories, but in Octopath Traveler 2, these stories can intertwine. In my opinion, Octopath Traveler made 2.5D what it is. Now it seems like every JRPG that gets remade, or new ones that are even coming out, they do 2.5D, and it just looks good. I think Octopath Traveler really deserves the credit for like making that popular and showing how it could be done. That being said though, this is just such a good ass game. And these games are completely different, so if you didn't play the first one, you don't need to play that to be able to play the second one. But yeah, Octopath Traveler 2. I really hope we get more games in this series. And for the final game, I want to talk about Ys, because it's just an incredible series, right? But which one to talk about? I almost put Ys 10 Nordics on here, but for this video, I'm going to go with Ys 8. In this game, you awaken shipwrecked and stranded on a cursed island. One of my favorite movies and books is The Count of Monte Cristo, so I know it's not directly the same, but this game reminds me of that a lot. And I think Ys 8 is the pinnacle of the Ys games. If you're a newer gamer, or you're new to this series or this genre, this series has been out for almost 40 years. That is absolutely insane. 40 years ago, this was started, and it's still going strong. But there's something about Ys 8 that just does it right. Like, I don't know if it's the characters and the story. I think the gameplay is always good in these games. But just the setting and how this game starts, and then how you start going out and forming this little village. It's perfect. It really is. And then on top of this, you start to dream of a mysterious blue-haired maiden living in an unknown world. Shipwrecked on an island, battling beasts, blue-haired maidens. What is not to love about this? Yeah, I don't know why it took so long to make a video about JRPGs, but I'm kind of glad I waited, because now the Switch just has so many great ones, so I think this is a really strong list. But this is a great thing about these videos. In the comments below, I love hearing from you guys. Let me know your favorite JRPGs. I would seriously love to hear from you. And if you made it to this part of the video, join this community, so hit a like and subscribe on the way out. And follow me on Twitter and Instagram so we can keep this community growing. As we grow, I'll be able to do cooler stuff and get cooler opportunities. And you guys know me, I'll see you very soon with a new video. Peace out.